Picture a nation poised at the brink of an energy revolution, where the winds of change are sweeping across vast plains and sun-soaked deserts. Once, the air in India's industrial cities was tinged with the gritty haze of coal-fired power plants. Today, the landscape is dotted with shimmering solar panels and elegant wind turbines, both symbols of a transformational journey. This is India, a country that has just stunned the global community by achieving a milestone that few believed possible, reaching half of its installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. What is truly remarkable is that this achievement came not by the year 2030, as set out in the Paris Agreement, but a full 5 years ahead of schedule. It is a moment of pride, a testament to ambition and drive, but it also poses a fundamental question. Can this extraordinary pace be sustained? Or will the path ahead be fraught with obstacles that could slow or even derail India's clean energy miracle? To truly understand the scope of this achievement, let us rewind to the not-so-distant past. A little more than a decade ago, India's power sector was dominated by coal. Renewables were an afterthought, a distant hope. Coal-fired plants powered the country's rapid industrialization, feeding the needs of growing cities and ever-increasing demand. In rural areas, unreliable grids and frequent blackouts were the norm. Renewable energy, including solar and wind, was barely a footnote. Fast forward to today, and the transformation is nothing short of astonishing. Since the year 2014, India's solar capacity has surged by an almost unimaginable 4,000%. From a small base, solar installations have now reached over 105 gigawatts by March of 2025. That is the equivalent of lighting up several mega cities, day and night. Wind power has also seen a dramatic rise, crossing the 50-gigawatt threshold. Hydroelectric stations, some nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas, others along the great rivers of the south, contribute nearly 50 gigawatts. Bioenergy, drawing from agricultural and urban waste, adds another 12 gigawatts. Altogether, by the spring of 2025, India's installed renewable energy capacity soared to more than 220 gigawatts. To put this in perspective, the total cumulative power generation capacity of the country reached nearly 475 gigawatts as of March, meaning that the non-fossil fuel share is not only significant, is transformative. The evidence of this revolution is everywhere. In Rajasthan, solar farms stretch as far as the eye can see, turning barren land into hubs of clean power. In Tamil Nadu and Gujarat, rows of wind turbines carve striking silhouettes against the skyline. Hydroelectric projects hum quietly in the background, their reservoirs supporting local agriculture and providing flood control. Even in bustling cities, rooftop solar installations are becoming a common sight, empowering businesses and households to generate their own electricity. This is more than just a makeover. Renewables are rapidly becoming the backbone of India's power sector. The numbers tell a story of relentless momentum. In the first half of 2025, India registered its fastest renewable power output growth since 2022. On just a single day in May, the country's peak electricity demand soared to an unprecedented 231 gigawatts, a figure that dwarfs the total capacity of many developed nations. To meet this roaring demand, India is not just building more power plants. It is reimagining its entire energy system. But why is this happening? The answer lies not only in environmental concerns, but also in hard economics. Clean energy is no longer just a moral imperative. It is a compelling business case. In 2023 alone, the power sector attracted $5 billion in foreign direct investment. By the following year, an astounding 83% of all new power sector investment was directed towards renewables and non-fossil fuel projects. International financiers, technology giants, and infrastructure companies are now vying for a slice of India's energy future. Manufacturing capacity for solar modules has reached nearly 88 gigawatts annually, with solar cell production at 25 gigawatts, positioning India as both a domestic powerhouse and a potential global exporter. The government's ambitions are nothing short of monumental. The target is to reach 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity by the year 2030, but the vision does not stop there. By the year 2070, India aspires to an almost inconceivable 7,000 gigawatts of renewable capacity. Dr. Ajay Mathur, Director General of the International Solar Alliance, puts it succinctly. India is now a global driver, not just a participant, in slashing solar costs and scaling up clean energy solutions. Yet for all this optimism, the journey is far from over. Powerful headwinds remain. Fossil fuels, especially coal, are still deeply entrenched. Despite the rapid rise of renewables, in the year 2024, more than two-thirds of the total increase in power generation still came from fossil sources. India's power grid, massive and complex, relies on coal-fired plants to provide stability during demand spikes and when renewables falter due to weather. To keep pace with surging consumption, the government has announced plans to add 80 gigawatts of new coal-fired capacity by the year 2032. This is a controversial but pragmatic decision, reflecting the delicate balancing act policymakers must perform. Tim Buckley, director at Climate Energy Finance, offers a stark warning. Without massive investment in grid integration and storage, renewables cannot fully replace coal's reliability. This is not just a theoretical concern. India's grid is already straining under explosive demand and the unpredictable nature of renewable output. Experts estimate that to meet the 500 gigawatt target by 2030, annual investments of nearly $80 billion will be required, not just for generation, but for the critical infrastructure needed to move electricity from remote solar and wind farms to the homes, businesses, and factories that need it most. The obstacles do not end there. Power distribution companies, known as DISCOMs, are facing a crisis of their own. As of March 2025, these companies were saddled with nearly $9 billion in unpaid bills. The financial health of the DISCOMs is essential for the continued flow of capital into new projects. If these bottlenecks are not resolved, they risk choking off investment and stalling progress. Land acquisition poses yet another serious challenge. Solar and wind projects require vast tracts of land, sometimes leading to disputes with local communities or running into regulatory red tape. In several states, activists and villagers have raised concerns about the loss of agricultural land and the impact on traditional livelihoods. These disputes can delay or even derail crucial projects, underscoring the need for transparent policies and fair compensation mechanisms. Policy uncertainty is another persistent risk. Shifting regulations on land use, emission standards, and tariffs can create anxiety among investors and developers. The relaxation of the flue gas desulfurization mandate in 2024, for example, means that almost 80% of India's thermal power capacity is now exempt from stricter pollution controls. This move was intended to keep electricity costs down by reducing the need for expensive upgrades. However, it has raised concerns about deteriorating air quality and public health, especially in urban and industrial hotspots. The government, for its part, is pushing forward with several strategic initiatives. It is promoting battery storage solutions to smooth out the variability of renewables, encouraging the circularity and recycling of solar and wind components, and investing heavily in the development of green hydrogen. Green hydrogen, produced from renewable electricity, holds promise as a clean fuel for hard-to-abate sectors such as steel, cement, and heavy transport. Consider the pioneering pilot projects now underway in states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. These projects are experimenting with green hydrogen as a fuel for industrial processes and as a potential export commodity. If successful, India could emerge as a global leader in this technology, opening new markets and reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels. Even with these advances, the challenge of grid integration looms large. Solar and wind energy are inherently variable. Sunsets, cloudy days, and calm winds can all lead to sudden drops in generation. To maintain a reliable supply, India will need to invest in advanced battery storage, flexible gas plants, pumped hydro storage, and smart grid technologies capable of balancing supply and demand in real time. International cooperation and technology transfer agreements with countries such as Japan, Germany, and the United States could help India leapfrog persistent bottlenecks and accelerate its energy transition. The future, then, is wide open. Several scenarios could play out over the next decade and beyond. In the most optimistic scenario, India continues to outpace its targets, reaching 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity well before 2030. The economic and social rewards of this scenario are enormous. Millions of new jobs could be created in solar manufacturing, battery assembly, installation, and maintenance. Workers transitioning from the coal sector could find new livelihoods in the clean energy economy, while India's growing expertise positions it as a global exporter of renewable technologies and services. Dr. Ajay Mathur envisions India as a trendsetter, not just a fast adopter, especially in driving down solar costs and making clean energy affordable for the developing world. The country's leadership in the International Solar Alliance is already helping to share knowledge, finance, and best practices with a network of over 100 member countries, most of them in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. But there are risks associated with rapid growth. The challenge of grid stability cannot be overstated. Without the required $80 billion United States dollars in annual investment, India could face rolling blackouts, wasted renewable capacity, and even sharp increases in electricity prices. Land disputes and bureaucratic delays could slow the deployment of new projects. The persistent financial instability of distribution companies could freeze investment just when it is needed most. If coal remains the default backup, India could miss its emissions targets, undermining its credibility in international climate negotiations and threatening its reputation as a clean energy leader. A second scenario, more balanced and pragmatic, envisions India combining its booming renewables sector with increased hydroelectric power, nuclear energy, and carefully managed natural gas. This approach would require nimble policymaking, a steady stream of foreign investment, and robust international cooperation. By forging technology partnerships and learning from the experiences of countries like Germany, which has grappled with its own energy transition, or China, which has rapidly scaled up solar manufacturing and deployment, India could avoid many pitfalls and accelerate its path toward a sustainable energy future. In this balanced scenario, the transition for workers leaving the coal sector could be managed more smoothly, with job creation in new industries offsetting losses elsewhere. Local manufacturing would be promoted to reduce dependence on imports, while innovation in storage and grid management would address reliability concerns. Yet a third, more sobering scenario is also possible. If bureaucracy, financing woes, or global trade tensions slow the deployment of renewables, India's energy transition could lose momentum. Domestic manufacturing may struggle to keep pace with the speed required, while continued expansion of coal could lock in high emissions for decades. Policy uncertainty could ripple through the broader economy, resulting in missed opportunities for job creation, export growth, and green industrial leadership. The lessons of other countries, such as Germany's Energiewende, with its costly detours, or China's balancing act between rapid solar expansion and overcapacity, offer both inspiration and cautionary tales. What does all this mean for you, the viewer, wherever you may live? India's experience shines a spotlight on the real-world complexities of energy transitions everywhere. Technology is crucial, but it is only one part of the puzzle. Policy frameworks, financial capital, social acceptance, and political will are equally vital. India's journey is a living laboratory, offering insights, both successes and setbacks, on what works and what does not when a nation attempts to leapfrog into a new energy era. If you are an investor, entrepreneur, or policymaker, India's choices are worth watching closely. The extraordinary growth in solar panel manufacturing, from a few gigawatts just a decade ago to 88 gigawatts of annual capacity, demonstrates how strategic policy and investment can reshape entire industries. The government's focus on circularity, recycling, and reusing solar and wind components may soon become a global template for minimizing environmental impact and maximizing economic value. Already, Indian companies are partnering with international firms to develop next-generation recycling technologies, aiming to create a closed-loop supply chain for renewables. For those passionate about innovation, India's foray into green hydrogen is equally noteworthy. Pilot projects are exploring the use of renewable hydrogen as a clean fuel for heavy industry and long-haul transport. If these experiments succeed, India could play a pivotal role in shaping the future of global energy systems and in reducing emissions from sectors that have long been considered intractable. For ordinary citizens and students, India's story is a powerful reminder that setting ambitious targets is only the beginning. The real test lies in execution. Solving the challenges of energy storage, grid reliability, land rights, and the human side of change, such as retraining workers, building new skills, and ensuring fair transitions for affected communities, will determine whether the promise of clean energy becomes reality. Consider the DISCOMs, the power distribution companies at the heart of India's energy system. Their nearly $9 billion United States dollars in unpaid bills are more than just a technical problem. These debts reflect deeper structural issues, outdated tariff structures, inefficient billing systems, and sometimes political interference. Addressing these challenges will require reforms, from smarter tariff setting to digitalized billing, and perhaps even new business models that align financial incentives with reliability and sustainability. International experience, from Latin America to Southeast Asia, shows that such reforms are possible, but they demand courage, stakeholder engagement, and strong political will. As India strives to meet its 500-gigawatt non-fossil fuel capacity target by 2030 and dreams of reaching 7,000 gigawatts by the year 2070, The stakes could not be higher. Success would mean cleaner air for hundreds of millions, dramatically reduced dependence on imported fossil fuels, and a powerful boost to the global fight against climate change. It would position India as a leader in the global transition to clean energy and set an example for other emerging economies. Failure, on the other hand, could lock in decades of pollution, economic vulnerability, and social unrest. The next 5 years will be a race between innovation and inertia, between the promise of a brighter future and the drag of entrenched interests. There is an aspect of India's renewable story that often goes overlooked: the potential to become a global exporter of clean energy technology, services, and expertise. With a projected 7,000 gigawatts of renewable capacity by the year 2070, India could help supply not only its own needs, but also those of neighboring countries and even distant markets. Already, India is sharing its experience in solar park development, grid integration, and off-grid solutions with countries across Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. As international climate diplomacy evolves, India's leadership could prove decisive in shaping the next phase of the world's energy transition. The global implications are profound. India's clean energy journey will influence technology trends, supply chains, environmental standards, and even geopolitics. As the world faces intertwined crises of energy security and climate change, India's ability to innovate, adapt, and lead will have ripple effects far beyond its borders. Whether you are an investor searching for the next big market, a policymaker designing transition strategies, or a citizen passionate about sustainability, India's unfolding story holds lessons, warnings, and inspiration. Let us not forget the human element. The transformation underway in India is not just about megawatts and gigawatts. It is about the lives of farmers who find new income by leasing land for solar farms, the engineers designing ever more efficient wind turbines, and the students inspired to pursue careers in green technology. It is about the communities learning to coexist with new infrastructure, and the families breathing cleaner air as coal-fired emissions decline. The social contract is being rewritten, and the stakes are deeply personal as well as global. So, can India truly transform its energy landscape by the year 2030? Or will ambition outpace reality? The answer remains unwritten. India has already shattered expectations by achieving key milestones ahead of schedule, attracting record levels of investment, and nurturing a new generation of energy innovators. But formidable challenges persist: technical, financial, social, and political. The coming years will be a test of resolve, ingenuity, and the ability to drive systemic change on a massive scale. What do you think? Can India pull off the world's largest and most complex energy transition, or is the road ahead simply too steep? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters in this global conversation. And if you are hungry for more insights into the technological and economic forces reshaping our world, make sure to subscribe for future deep dive videos. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon. The future of energy